yourself, king. Be yourself. Be yourself, queen. Be yourself. Be yourself, king. Be yourself. Be yourself, queen. Be yourself.
What's up? Welcome to the YMC Me Podcast. My name is Sontee, and I'm one of the co-hosts on this real podcast. Can I say that? A real podcast? Yeah. This is a podcast where we have real conversations with real people. So thank you for tuning in to the community.
Hey, what up, everybody? It's your man, Dr. Corbin Smith, and yes, this is a real podcast. So since this is our first one, we're going to do some introductions on who we are, and so you can know a little bit more about the host that's going to be presenting this information and all of these great gems, as Sontee loves to say, that they're going to drop on you each and every season of our podcast. So without further ado, I'm going to ask some questions to our great co-host, the Tar Heel herself, Sontee Dean. Okay, Miss Dean, first question I have for you is introduce yourself and describe your background.
Yeah, so as I said, my name is Sontee Dean. Born and somewhat raised in North Carolina. So my mom has a military background, and I've basically lived up and down the East Coast with that. But then happy to come back to North Carolina around my middle school age, and ever since I've been here. Graduated from a middle college in Charlotte. Shout out to the 704 area. And then I went to UNC Chapel Hill, and I got my bachelor's in human development and family science, and then also psychology. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay. Good answers. I like them. Second question. How would you describe your energy? What gets you going?
I would describe my energy as like introverted, but then when you get to know me, like I'm really down to earth and a cool person. So very introverted, thrive off being in like small spaces and holding conversations in small spaces. But if I'm given the challenge to, I can do some public speaking. I think you may know Atreus likes to challenge me with speaking publicly. And so I think that's something that I've gained, or a skill that I've grown being here at YMC. But definitely introverted, but down to earth and cool person to talk to and have a relatable background.
You're just knocking them out the park today with these answers, Ms. Dean. Just knocking them out. All right, so I have another question for you. How did you get involved with YMC? And another question, why mentoring?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm a Tar Heel, love the Tar Heel capital, I don't know. I'm a Tar Heel, UNC, till the day I die. And in one of my majors, Human Development and Family Science, also known as HDFS, I was required to have an internship. So I connected with Dr. Shauna Cooper, who is a psychology professor at UNC. And I was wanting to do research. My aspiration for my career is to be a clinical psychologist and open up my own practice. And so I said, grad school, I need some kind of research background. So I said, I'm going to do research. And I got in contact with Dr. Cooper, and she had different options, and we decided to go with the YMC option. And so I got to YMC, and I was like, okay, this doesn't seem like research, but still interested in what they're doing here. And so doing a little bit of that last summer, doing some internship, and I was like, wow, I really understand like the need for mentoring. Before I really never had a mentor growing up. And so now being in a community where I better understand mentoring and how impactful, effective mentoring is, just made me want to invest more time into this space.
You know what? I feel the same. I mean, we're right in alignment with each other. I definitely understand where you're coming from. So, question 4, because I got 2 more for you, and then I know it's my turn. What do you hope to get out of this experience with the YMC Me Podcast? What's your vision? Where do you see it going?
Well, I really just like to learn. Like, I'm a person that's big on learning and growth, and y'all don't know it yet, but Corbin's going to introduce himself, but he's a wizard with all of this technology in the back end. So I'm interested in learning more about like the back end side of podcasting by doing this podcast. But then also just like spreading awareness, learning from the speakers. Really excited to have some youth speakers as well. At YMC, we uplift youth power. And so I'm really excited to have some youth speakers on this podcast, speaking to their experiences and mentoring, and then learning from different experts who are in the sector of mentoring. So I'm just here to learn.
Okay, lastly, certainly not least, what do you hope the listeners will gain from our podcast, from your perspective?
I'm just hoping that can be like a safe space for our listeners to not only relate to the speakers that are speaking, whether that's a young person or a person that has more experience, but just feel that this is a space of safety or comfortability and awareness, especially for those that aren't in the mentoring space and maybe want to get involved in mentoring. They can learn more from being in this space. And even if you are in the mentoring space, and you still have an opportunity for growth and learning. So have a comfortable space while also learning from peers and real people.
Here on the YMC Me Podcast, we have an exclusive segment that we like to call Reveal Your Heal. This is a segment where we tap into the mental health aspect of our interviewees. So since for this podcast we are interviewing each other, Sontee, I have to ask you, how has mental health impacted your life, and how has mental health shown up for you in your life as well?
Yeah, so growing up, mental health wasn't a common conversation that was held in my household. And so now I think I'm being more intentional with how I approach mental health as an adult, especially with having very close family members who suffer from several mental health disorders and substance abuse disorders. I want to be an advocate for mental health, and I think that fuels why I want to go into the field of psychology. But then also the way that mental health shows up in my life currently is through healing. And I would say healing in a sense of healing my mental health in a way that I can be a productive person, and then also just like a better person, if that makes sense. So healing comes in different forms, whether it's crocheting or meditating, walking, painting, really taking time to explore what healing means to me has been what my healing journey has been like recently. All right, so it's your turn, Corbin. Introduce yourself to the audience, and then also describe your background.
Okay, well, my name is Dr. Corbin Smith. I am the executive director for the 100 Black Men in Triangle East, and also a consultant with YMC. I started my professional career 180 in the entertainment industry, working in radio in my hometown of Baltimore, Maryland, with an organization called, at the time it was Radio One, but now they're Urban One. And I just, to make a long story short, I had an epiphany, a turning point in my career where I felt that in the entertainment industry, when it came to just the advancement of, to be quite honest with you, humanity. But at the time, I was thinking culturally that I was more part of the problem than the solution of the issues that I was seeing culturally in the community. So I practiced some accountability, and I decided to embark into workforce development, youth mentoring, where I worked for an organization for some years entitled Civic Works Inc., also in Baltimore. Great organization, does great work focused around workforce development in the greater Baltimore area.
See, I told y'all. He's an expert. All right. So, how would you describe your energy? What do you bring into this space?
Well, I would say a mixture of like counsel and then like execution. I feel like that's where I am in my career. Like I'm not, I'm not seasoned enough to like fully not put my hands on stuff. But I have done enough work to back up and be able to be of assistance to people who have the abilities to execute. So, in a more relaxed manner as well, because early in my career, I was very, go-getter, and that it's chess, not checkers when it comes to certain things. And it's not just about jumping over people. It's about being strategic about what you do so you can really be impactful, effective, and achieve your end goal. So I would say relaxed, if I could use like one word.
I definitely see that for you. All right. So how did you get involved with YMC? And then also, why mentoring? What's your point for getting involved in mentoring?
So I got involved in YMC because I met Atreus. At one point in time, he was the vice president for our chapter. And he shared, what he did outside of the chapter, since his position was 100% volunteer. So he told me about the work. I would meet with him bi-weekly just to share updates about, what I was doing for my first year as the executive director for the chapter. And just one thing led to another. And the next thing I know, I'm like, literally, it's like that. Like, next thing I know, I'm signing a contract with him to be a consultant with YMC. I guess we shared, just from sharing those moments and meetings and being vulnerable and really like doing something like this, we found just alignment in each other's purpose. As for why, I had mentors in my personal life and my professional life. And if it's one thing that aligned with those folks, was each and every one of them told me to continue the energy, continue, reach back as you're climbing, reach back, and don't forget about folks who were once like yourself and needed some guidance to get where they needed to get, because life may not have granted them that liberty. Be that liberty, just like someone had been for you. So that's why I got in space.
Wow. Okay. So what do you hope to get out of this experience with being a part of the YMC Me podcast?
Just the opportunity to hear other people's perspectives on and I'll call it the art, right? And science, right? The art and science behind mentoring. The ups and downs of it, right? The summits and valleys, because when humans share their experiences, you really come to find out that we're, amongst cultural differences, like we're all the same. We all had the same emotions we feel. So it helps me be able to embrace humanity further, and understanding that, before gender identity, social economic status, before race, that, we're all human first. And I believe if people can hear these experiences and align them, that they will understand that further as well. And that just makes living amongst each other more peaceful.
All right, so it's your turn. So how has mental health impacted you? And then also, how does mental health show up in your life today, like currently?
Mental health has definitely impacted me. Just growing up in Baltimore City, man, it's a trauma-infused place. I mean, Baltimore, Maryland has its brand, right, with crime and drugs. And, I mean, you've seen The Wire, or if you haven't, like, that's the brand, right? And, just seeing those things, whether it's as a young adult, an adult, all the life stages, there's a lot of folks, and I feel like 90% of like all of those things I just touched base on, like with the crime and drugs and everything, I really feel like they are side effects of just folks that haven't embraced healing, mental healing. My girlfriend always quotes a Lauryn Hill song where she's like, how you gonna win if you ain't right within, right? So it's like, it's definitely something that I'm learning to utilize. Like, I have a therapist. I have gone to couple therapy. It's something needed, like, because especially with black and brown folks, right? We got to just address the elephant in the room. Up until a few years ago, like, mental health was like, what? What is that? Like, it was, it was a white people thing, right? Like, we don't do that. We just bottle it in, and then you wonder why. Like I said, you got all this crime and people are on drugs, and it's been an outlet for not being able to really get your mind right. And it starts with your mind. And to continue to answer the question, currently I'm in therapy. It's helping me. It isn't a overnight thing. So for anybody who has been contemplating, like, should I? Yes, do it. But also understand that it is a process, and you're trying to erase years and years of experiences and move in a new direction. So have some grace for yourself, but also be accountable. Have grace, but be accountable. So that's my mental health blurb.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, what do you hope the listeners will gain from our podcast?
It kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about alignment and experiences, and just understanding that we're all human and we all experience the same thing in different ways. We all experience the same things in different ways. So really, that's it. And as long as people can get that, whatever else comes with it, I'm grateful and thankful. But that's my goal with it, Sontee Dean. That's all I'm trying to do right here.
All right, y'all. So that was the first episode of the YMC Me Podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. Don't wait. Go to the next episode. It's already released. We're so glad to have you guys a part of the community. Also, if you want to be a part of the YMC Me Podcast, reach out to us. Contact us at info@youthmissioncollaborative.org and let us know that you want to be on the YMC Me Podcast.
Be yourself, queen. Be yourself.